Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special Squad in Quads video. This is the rise and rebirth of Nemesis, a 2-year journey on the legendary Alton Towers coaster. Welcome back to another adrenaline-fueled adventure. Today, we're diving into the heart-pounding world of the most amazing, iconic roller coaster in the UK, none other than Nemesis, now reborn at Alton Towers. Nemesis isn't just any roller coaster, it's a legend. Since it debuted in 1994, this steel beast has set pulses racing and hearts pounding. But as with any great tale, there comes time for a farewell. As you can see on screen now, we have the removal of a legend, the removal of Nemesis at Alton Towers. And I just want to point out that over the past 2 years, the views of what we've provided you with has changed. So I was going through all these old videos as I was recording this long journey through history with Nemesis and you guys, and it got me really thinking that I was scripting a lot of the video, and I just really wanted to sit here like mates and share the journey that we've been on and discuss how we've done it. And so we start off with a little bit of a script, and then, to be honest, in a minute I'm going to talk about how we've moved from one side to the other and why we did it. And it just becomes this organic conversation, like it's just all friends sat around a table just talking to each other. And it made me think, it just made me think that scripting is brilliant. But when we're looking back at a journey that we've had with Nemesis and with all the filming that we've done over the 2 years, some scripting is good, some information is good, but actually, we're all mates. There's been, on average, between 7,000 and 10,000 people have viewed every one of these videos. Most of you are new eyes to my channel that never aware of me before. I've sort of come from nowhere. I'm not a theme park expert. I'm a guy that likes to be in the air, that likes roller coasters. And we just converged from nowhere and grew this amazing community audience together. We've all been really supportive of each other. We've all looked after each other. There's never been any sort of aggro or angst. I mean, there's been a couple of comments, but that's out of me, and that's fine. It's been amazing, and it does feel like the end of an era. But at the same time, we've got SW9 to look forward to, and we've got Project Ocean to look forward to, so it's not the end. It's definitely the end of an era, and I think it's good to do this video to look at the whole journey of not only Nemesis, but us, because the track where it was in this new location, I'd been given half of the information from one person, I was given a quarter of the information from somebody else, and then we worked out where exactly it was, and we went and found it, and we put cues with the GPS locations in the bottom corner, and then people started finding it, and then I got like a bit of heat from that, so we kept the video, but we pulled the GPS location hints in the bottom left hand corner, and it's just been a wild ride, and I just hope that Project Ocean and or SW9 and anything else, because I believe there's a bit of planning permission in for a scare maze. I don't think we're likely to capture anything major of that, to be fair, but it's just been amazing, and I just hope that we can continue growing on that journey as we go forward, because it's been crazy, and thank you. Anyway, let's get into talking about why the angles of the footage have changed from when we started to when we finished, so that we can understand why we did that and the reasons behind that. And it's probably not what you think, so I'm going to let future self me go and go back to unfuture self me, because I've recorded this in about 7 different ways. So we're going to switch now to talking about why we've moved positions with the drone. As you look at Alton Towers, we initially flew from the left-hand side of the valley, and we did this because there was nobody else at the time doing aerial updates of the removal and construction of Nemesis, and it was totally safe. We had visual line of sight, we had Article 16, we had an A2 CFC, we had insurance, we had a spotter, everything was brilliant. However, once our videos went out, lots of other people then started doing the same thing. Now, I'm not saying that we was the first and we was trendsetters, but when we started, there was nobody doing it, and now there is every time we go, there is other people doing it from that side of the valley. So we, over the course of, after we'd done the first round, so the removal videos, they went crazy, and after that it spawned, I don't want to say copycats because we're all free to do what we want, but it did spawn a lot of people doing exactly the same thing from the same place. And there was a few times we'd turn up and there'd be 2 or 3 people waiting to fly from the left because there would be another drone up already. And that's fine. The airspace is there for everybody. So we'd done the main removal, and we decided over the winter to explore and investigate new takeoff positions. We already had 5 or 6 under our belt as it was. And with the 200mm zoom lens that we utilise on our drones, the great thing being we don't have to be anywhere near anybody else to get the same shots. And if we are anywhere near anybody else, we'll get different shots because we shoot much further past them. If you look at the last Nemesis update, I do a demonstration as to what it looks like using the wide angle lens versus what it looks like in exactly the same position using the 200mm zoom. And you can actually see on that video that we are too far cropped in for how close to the park we are, and bearing in mind we are over a field, over a road and away from the park. So we did some investigations and we trialed a few spots. We did a few videos that we never even released from different spots, and it just didn't quite work. And then we got lucky. We found another spot where we've got a visual line of sight where the drone doesn't enter the park. And I've made a big deal of not entering the park, and people have asked me why. Because legally, as long as you can see the drone, you can fly over the park, provided you don't fly over a crowd of people, and that's fine. But as I've always stressed, safety is our #1 priority and has always been our #1 priority. And if there are other drones flying over the park, if we can stay outside of the park's boundary, we're nowhere near those other drones then. And obviously if we did see another drone, we would land anyway. But it just removes a little bit of that danger element that was there when there were several drones in the air at once. We've never actually flown when we've seen another drone in the air, but by staying on what is now the right hand side as you look at the entrance of the valley, we can stay outside of the park's boundaries, and we know that everybody else flying from the left is inside the park's boundaries because we know that most people are using DJI mini drones and they don't have a 200mm zoom lens. We can't fly them in congested areas unless you have certain certifications such as the GVC, which we have, the A2, which we have, the Article 16 that we have, which allows us to fly in recreational areas, of which theme parks are classed as one. But the rules are still the same. You cannot fly over an area that has a crowd of people. So we moved positions to stay outside of the park boundaries, and that's why on a lot of the videos I really do stress we stay outside of the park's boundaries, because legally we can go inside them, but if we can make it safer, not just for us, we don't want our drone to be hit and broken, let alone hurting somebody, but if we can make it safer for everybody else that's in the park and or flying as well, you know, it just makes perfect sense, and we can still get the amazing visuals shooting across the valley in the way that we do. So that's a lot of words basically for us to say we want to stay safe, we want any potential people in the park to stay safe, and we want other drone pilots to stay safe that won't necessarily be as vigilant as perhaps they should be. We've seen some things happen, and we're not going to name names, but there are some things that happen. We're not angels, nobody's perfect, but you know, we're flying over a place with multi-million-dollar or multi-million-pound rides, you know, human beings. We just wanted everything to be as safe as possible. So that's why we no longer fly from the left. So that's why the angle of the videos from before and after are different. We could do it from the left, but it's much safer to do it from the right. If you have a mini drone, however, you can't do it from the right because the lens just isn't long enough to reach into the park. And you can't fly into the park from the right hand side with a mini drone because you won't have visual line of sight. So there you go. That's why it's changed, and I felt it was important to address that. Nemesis has undergone a remarkable transformation. Its age and structure demanded attention, prompting park officials to embark on an ambitious project, the removal and the rebuilding of Nemesis and the whole of Forbidden Valley, because we've lost the drilling, we've gained a helicopter, the biggest question that is on our lips and has been on our lips since the rebuild commences, will they bring back the Blood River? Because that was one of the best parts of Nemesis. Outside of the ride, of course. And we actually have a campaign, #BringBackBlood, to get Alton Towers to bring back the Blood River. We know there was a problem a few years ago when somebody accidentally flushed the toxic water into the water table, and then Alton Towers were banned from having the Blood River ever again, blah, blah, blah. Technology has moved on. There must be a self-contained system that they can have that stops that ever happening again. Surely there must be a way of doing it. And I hear lots of good things about the new Director of Operations, Bianca. Bianca, this is a personal message to you from us at Squadding Quads. Bring back Blood, please. Nobody's saying it's going to be easy. Nobody's saying it's going to be straightforward. Nobody's saying it's even potentially going to be cheap. But I think adding that Blood River back to Nemesis, if we're going to do a full refurb of it and bring it back better, essentially, build back better. I've heard that before. I think we need that Blood River back, and I think everybody will agree. And I think, let me know in the comments below if you do agree with me, that I think to finish off now what's been a pretty amazing project is we do need a little bit of that Blood River back. Over the course of several months, Nemesis was very carefully and very precisely disassembled piece by piece, revealing the inner workings and the intricate detail of what was known as the pit. Nemesis was, without any shadow of a doubt, ahead of its time when it was first built. The twisted track layout and intense manoeuvres challenged conventional coaster design. What we had originally in this area was Thunder Looper, a flat launch coaster into a loop that went forwards and then backwards through the loop, and it was brilliant for its time. And in this country at the time, we didn't really have anything breathtaking, anything particularly different. So when Nemesis came out and they blasted away at the what was essentially just a piece of flat ground, if you can imagine where the monorail is, which should hopefully be on screen now, that whole area was just a piece of flat land. And over the course of several months back in 1994, that piece of flat grass land was terraformed. The pit was I think they used dynamite at points to blow some of it out, or was it a digger? I can't remember. You have to let me know in the comments below. I'm getting old now. And then obviously the whole landscape changed. Drayton Manor came out with Shockwave in 1994. Blackpool Pleasure Beach came out with the big one in 1994, and we had 3 unique coasters. We had the biggest one in the country, and I believe it was the fastest one at the time, at Blackpool Pleasure Beach in the big one, which visually was absolutely magnificent, but doesn't ride brilliantly. The first drop's great, and then the rest of it's a bit like a sightseeing tour, which is nice. Shockwave at Drayton Manor, we don't really want to talk about. It's painful. It was unique and great, but it's yeah, no. And I believe they're changing to sit-down trains this year, and we may, if we get a chance, go and have a look at that. The problem with that is the layout of the track is very basic because it's designed for a stand-up ride, so I don't know how well that's going to translate. It's very short as well, so I don't know how well that's going to translate to a sit-down ride, but at least they're trying to keep it going in a different way. Blackpool Pleasure Beach have, over the past few years, retracked pieces of it, and obviously Alton Towers have done this with Nemesis. We also, as we look at some of the footage on screen now, essentially broke the news that Subterra was reopening, because there was lots of people saying, oh well, maybe it will and maybe it won't. And obviously our footage initially captured the fact that there was rebuilding the queue line, and then once we sort of found different spots to fly from, we could look at the other side of Nemesis Subterra and essentially look through the door, and we could see people working inside it. We could see this whole queue line being rebuilt, and then, to no one's surprise, after they'd seen our videos, Alton Towers announced that Nemesis Subterra was going to reopen. So that sort of helped alleviate the queues in the area. Now, we did do a really early morning flight, and I'm hoping this is going to link up, but if it's been on screen already or if it hasn't, my apologies. But we did do a really early morning flight in the summer where some of the track had been reinstalled. The monorail was taking guests to the park. There was nobody really in the area. We was again 400 foot away from the park using the zoom lens, sat over public land, so there was never any danger to anybody. And we could capture the monorail going in, the monorail coming out. The car park was full. The trees were in bloom. The whole area looked just completely different than how we'd seen it before. And obviously there was one or two pieces of track that had been reinstalled. We had people go into Nemesis Subterra, which had reopened. The whole area, once the trees were in bloom, looked really nice. But there was still a missing piece in our lives, and that was Nemesis, because there was still only a couple of pieces of track there. Even though it all looked gorgeous and beautiful, it was still missing. The cranes were still there, and we still held our breath and waited. I think Alton Towers understood the anticipation and the excitement surrounding the return of Nemesis, and I think it was essential for them to deliver on that experience and that expected result, and well, deliver they did. After 2 years of meticulous planning and execution, Nemesis emerged from its cocoon reborn and was ready to claim the title as one of the world's greatest roller coasters once again. But our journey didn't end there, because in between that, we found Nemesis, the old Nemesis, laying in a scrapyard, just tossed away like it didn't matter to anybody. And we did contact the scrapyard, and I know other people did contact the scrapyard and ask, can we buy a piece of Nemesis? And we was told it just wasn't for sale, it wasn't allowed. And I have seen today that Alton Towers are charging £100 for one bolt of Nemesis, so that's probably why the scrapyard was so reluctant to sell it, because it's obviously been told that Towers had a plan for what they intended to do, and that's fair enough. It was, at the end of the day, it was down to these two companies to decide between them what they're going to do. We're just paying customers after all, and if they can extort £100 out of us for a bolt, then so be it. And before too long, Nemesis did indeed rise from the ashes, and gorgeous it is. The level of effort, planning and work that's clearly gone into this is absolutely astounding. There are some things that I'm not overly keen on, and this is just from a watcher's perspective. This is just from somebody who is watching from afar currently, but I'm not massively keen on that X-Sector style entrance portal. I get what they're trying to do. I get that it's a monster that they're trying to stop escaping, and everything's not work, because we've got, if we look at one of the new scenes at the top in the queue line, we can see there's a piece of track that's trying to escape from a porter cabin. And that's clearly one of those old pieces that were taken away, not scrapped, but obviously have been used for scenic pieces. We question, would it be used as some sort of entrance portal, or would they put some of the old pieces around the corkscrew, or would they put some of the old pieces over the queue line or something like that? It's a bit more basic than what I think we'd all assumed it was going to be, which is a real shame, because I think it's a missed opportunity to have Nemesis and the corkscrew interlocking on the entrance plaza. I think would have been pretty special, but hey ho, it's one of those things, isn't it? It doesn't mean that it doesn't look stunning. It doesn't mean that the level of effort and work that everyone's put in isn't incredible. And I'm not there to ride it today because I've ridden it a million times already. The ride experience is going to be exactly the same, and people are reporting that there's 4.5 hour queue lines just to ride it. So I'm not there to ride it. You guys enjoy yourself. I'm sitting back and watching from afar and reflecting on the journey that I've been on personally, in watching this once great coaster that I've ridden so many times get dismantled, thrown away like scrap, literally thrown away like scrap into a scrapyard, and then rise from the ashes with some of the most gorgeous track I've ever seen. And I hand on heart, I really didn't like the colour of the track when I first saw it. I thought, nope, it's just a bit too tacky for me. But it looks really, really good, doesn't it? And there you have it, thrill seekers. The epic journey of Nemesis, from removal to rebuilding, is a testament to the ingenuity and dedication of those who dared to push the limits of what is possible. Thank you so much for joining us on this exhilarating ride. Until next time, keep the adrenaline pumping and the adventures rolling, and I'll see you on the next coaster.